Hello everyone. Welcome to my masterclass. Own your softness like a boss. And it's the key to having incredible relationships. I'm Leslie J. Mayer, and I would love for you to say hi as you're hopping on here. I live in Israel. It's 5 in the afternoon here, and I'd love to know where you're coming from and what time it is, just to connect with me and let me know that you are here. So I am very excited. I've got my content all prepared here, bringing you all the vibes, and I would just love for you to join in here. So I will get started and welcome you on this masterclass. So first of all, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll get into the masterclass itself. So when I was at a young age, I went searching for my voice. And I almost lost my life doing that. I was 16, I was living in Canada at home, and basically I felt unheard. And my boyfriend, who I had been with for 2 years already, I met him at a summer camp. He decided to go back and live in Israel. He was born here. And I decided a few months later to join him. And I came for the summer. And I stayed, as life turns out. So then about a year later, a war broke out here. And my boyfriend had been going back and forth every day to the army base to offer his services to the army. And he had been going on his own for this past week since the war broke out. And I still to this day don't know why, but that Saturday evening, I decided to go with him. And we drove in a pickup truck. We were sitting in the back as passengers in the back of a pickup truck. It was this no-frills type of vehicle. It was used for transporting sometimes people and sometimes boxes or whatever was necessary. So in the back where we were sitting, it was like this closed-in little box. And there were just these 2 padded benches, flip-up benches on either side. There were no seatbelts, no handrests, and that's what it was. So we were just sitting there, and about 10 minutes after we left, we were going around a bend in a very dark road, and an army truck hit us, collided with us, and it hit us exactly where we were sitting, right in the back of that pickup truck. And I don't remember anything. It was dark inside the back there. We were not aware of this tragic accident that was going to happen. And the only thing is I remember the next morning waking up in the hospital, and the doctor was like looking down on me. And I must have known that something happened because I asked him where my boyfriend was. So, and I couldn't speak, and I didn't understand why at the time, but later on I found out that I was on a respirator and I couldn't talk. But I did manage to communicate this with him, and the doctor basically told me, I remember his words so clearly. He said that my boyfriend wasn't as strong as I was, and he didn't make it. So, those words, kept me fighting for my life and have stayed with me all these years. I remember that all so clearly. And by this time, we had been together for 3 years already. And, in that very moment, in that one life-changing moment, I went from being this lively young woman that I was to feeling like an old lady, confined to bed. My body was aching from all this pain I was in. I felt like I lost my freedom. But at that same time, something within me knew that I was going to be okay. I can make it through this. And, excuse me, after I was about 10 days on life support. And in this hospital, the medical staff decided it was time to see if I could breathe on my own. Because what happened was my lungs were punctured, my ribs were cracked, they ripped me inside, and I had an emergency wound from a ruptured spleen that they removed. I had cuts, like all of these things. And so my body was full of infection by then, but they decided, so everything was hurting me so much. I had a high fever, and they decided to try and see if I could, breathe on my own at this time. And I remember feeling so terrified because that meant I'd be letting go of this machine that had been keeping me alive all this time. And that was so scary. It was such a scary moment for me. But I knew that, the only way to get through this, the only way to continue on with my life is I had to take this step. And I did it, and it worked out okay. And the next morning, they decided it was time to remove me from from the respirator completely, unhook me. And it was so difficult for me to breathe on my own because, again, everything was just, my bones were hurting me so much. Everything, it was just unbelievable, the pain I was in. And all this pain taught me so much. It taught me so much about life. And in the end, they took out the tubes that were running straight through my vocal cords. And what that did was actually, it scarred my vocal cords when they were in there, and they didn't know whether I'd be able to speak or not, after they removed this, because it had damaged my vocal cords. But they asked me to speak, and I was so surprised because my frog sounded like a voice. It hardly came out. It was like hardly anything on there. But in the end, I could speak, and they were all so happy. We just, relieved that I'd be able to talk again. And that's how my voice turned into what it is now. It improved during the years, but that's where it came from, because my voice wasn't always like this. So there was a lot of recovery I still had to do after that. It was just one milestone in my recovery in the hospital. But I did, and I went home, and a while later, I was in another relationship. Okay? And I was in a relationship for a few years, but that unfortunately ended in a very abrupt and unexpected way. And it took me by complete surprise. And I was at a very vulnerable time in my life when that happened. But after going through the initial heartbreak and sadness and, the feeling of rejection and very, very low self-worth and esteem, I asked myself, now what? Okay, now what? I was alone. I had no family. My family was in Canada still. And remember, this was so many years ago. And I had I was in my early 20s. There was no email, no texting, no nothing like that. And, the only thing we had was writing letters. I could hardly even talk on the phone. It was just an almost impossible situation at that time. And here I was, I had my friends, yes, and the people that became close to me then, since living in Israel, but my family wasn't here. So I decided to gather all my broken pieces together, and I picked myself up and decided to move on with my life. And I believe it's these life-shaking incidents that shook me up to the core and absolutely, just took all my stability, all the things I knew from under my feet. And when they settled again, and I realized each time that I'm okay, that I'm going to be okay through all of this. I have myself, and I'm going to be okay. And with that came, I believe, this inner calmness that I have that is now so deeply embedded within me. And a few years later, I met a wonderful man who is now my husband. And we started on our journey together as a young couple. We were in love, and we built our life together, and we've been together, married for 39 years. And we learned how to accept each other's strengths and weaknesses and our vulnerable spots. We, brought up our children together, and watching them grow into beautiful individuals. And we're running a family business together and creating, precious bonds with our granddaughters that live nearby. And it's the whole deal, because keeping this, this family alive, this entrepreneurial family situation going, with all the joy and the challenges and the rewards that come with it, it's a challenging situation. It hasn't always been easy, but we've, despite all the odds, we're still here together and going strong. So, and on top of all that, keeping the spark of our relationship alive, that says something. That certainly does. So, many, many years later, as I dove into my own personal development and began, discovering my own passion. And one of the things that I became very aware of is that one of the main things, that keeps a relationship alive and strong is that we need to pay special attention to the balance and the flow of the masculine and feminine energies in our relationship, in our life, and especially in our relationship. So what exactly is this softness that I'm referring to? This owning your softness like a boss. Where does that come from? So we all need this, this balance between the two, and between the two masculine and feminine energies in our life. And of course, I believe as women, we need at the core, we need to be predominantly our soft and calm feminine energy. This allowing and receiving and laid back energy, that is our strength. That's our strength when we have this at our core. And what really is this feminine energy? Okay, what does it really mean? It's a free-flowing energy. It's the kind and soft and sensual and loving and, caring and relaxed. Just feeling the safeness and, letting your imagination go wild and get lost in art, in poetry, in music. Get lost in your imagination, in dance, and in love, in beauty. And she is led by her emotions and her intuition. The feminine energy is led by emotions and intuition. That's a very important distinction. Okay? And people are magnetized to this energy, this feminine energy, because she makes them feel so good about themselves with her internal calmness. And the masculine energy, on the other hand, is the doing, the giving, the providing energy, and that works from the brain. Whereas the feminine energy works from her heart and her intuition, the emotions and intuition. The masculine energy is ruled by the brain, by the thoughts, by the tasks, okay? This is true masculine energy. And I believe that the number one reason that I see relationships fade away and crumble after years, and it could be after even a short amount of time, is when there's an imbalance of these two energies within the couple. First of all, we need it on our own, as our own being. But then when we've got our couple, as a couple, we're working through these energies, we need this specific balance that will hold the relationship strong. And if a woman that is used to being like, if she's hardworking and she's very successful in her business, or one that's, always in constant, being a mother at home with her kids even, and she's in a controlling, a mothering type of state all the time, this very often carries over to relationships. Chelsea, hello, dear. Hi. We're just getting into the meat and potatoes of everything here, as they say. And this comes from a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for so many years, but we're getting into the meat and potatoes of everything here, so you're just on time. So if a woman is, I'll just repeat this last part again, okay? And so if a woman is in her very hard working and, successful energy, yeah, perfect, you got it here right on time. And you could watch the beginning part later on replay. So when a woman is in her strong energy and she's got her business going in her successful mode that she wants to get this business going, or if she is a very successful businesswoman, or as she's a mom at home, and she'll very often take this powerful energy with her into the relationships without her even knowing it, without her realizing it. And then we have something that goes on here. Because if a man has to fight against you with masculine energy inside that relationship, that's going to cause friction. It's going to cause tension and friction. And that is not good for any relationship at all. We need the understanding, not the friction and the tension. Okay? But the thing is, there's no vacuum. So if you're always or predominantly in your masculine energy within this relationship, then you might say things like, him slacking off. I never thought of it like fighting against the masculine, but it is, yep. Because there's the balance. There's always the balance, and there's no vacuum. If you're in your masculine, he goes into his feminine. You're in your feminine, he can go into his masculine. And at first it'll be just these one-time situations, but after a while, it's going to turn into, this is the way, that's like a pattern that comes up. And then what happens because there's no vacuum, you may start noticing things like, if he's slacking off into his, into this type of feminine energy, because you're in your masculine most of the time, you'll notice him easing up on his responsibilities. Or you might notice him not taking initiative anymore, or he becomes quiet and more closed than before, and the fire is gone in your relationship, or it dwindles away. Those are signs that he's in his feminine energy. And the only reason he goes in his feminine energy is because you're in your masculine energy. Because his natural state of being is to go in his masculine. Just like our natural state of being is to go in our feminine. Our life gets ahead of, gets on top of things, and we can forget that. But if we do remember and get back into our core energies as we have been born to be, this will work out perfectly. So the thing is, I believe we must take responsibility for our own thoughts and feelings and actions. So we go first. And here's something I'd like you to pay attention and notice. If you're a woman and you've got this little notepad, this tiny little notepad in your mind, where you get to write down all these little things that you notice. Like, making him go out of the masculine. Yeah. That's like the teeter-totter that we don't want to be on. And it's okay once in a while, because the men need to be in feminine energy once in a while. They need to recuperate as well. And we can be there to provide this supporting and strong energy for them. But for the long shot, unless you want that type of relationship, that you're in your masculine and he's in his feminine all the time. But don't be surprised if he doesn't take initiative for anything, or he's the weak one. Okay? So let me get back to what I was saying before. Now, the thing is, if you've got this little notepad out and it's constantly being filled up with these little notes that you create in your mind of complaints, of criticisms, of demands, of these snarky remarks that you can just pull out of nowhere when you need it, or expectations or disappointments in him. If you've got this little thing going, then soon you'll start to feel resentments. And after a while, you'll be left with a big fat notepad or binder of all of these complaints and disappointments and remarks that you're ready, and this judgment that you're ready to fire out, and you'll be left with no relationship, or one that's just, feels very distant and lonely, just dwindling away. So when that happens, here's the thing. That not only hurts you, but it also hurts him. And when that hurts him, it blocks his desire to make you happy, which creates this vicious circle, this never-ending circle. So what we want to do is we want to allow them back into our heart by creating an environment that we both feel safe enough to open up our hearts and share. And this will actually then create a deeper connection. And it'll be so deep that it will withstand the fluctuations and circumstances that life brings us. And life is going to bring it to us. There's no perfect life on earth. It just doesn't exist. So we are going to, the resentment blocks his desire to make us happy. Because he feels hurt. And because his basic desire as a man is to make us happy, to make us love him. He wants to do everything for us that we can. And if we don't allow that, then he can't provide that for us. It's these basic things that we don't even think about. But so continuing on a bit. So the thing is, we want to allow that back into our life and allow this strong, openness of both, that we have this strong bond in our hearts, and we can withstand this relationship will be able to withstand time and anything that comes with it in our life. Tiny little sip here. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is break down the sequence that I found to be the key in having these incredible relationships. Okay, so and today as you can see, I'm focusing mostly on the relationship within a couple, but a lot of these things you'll be able to take and see that they'll work also with and be an excellent base for any type of relationship. But right now I'm especially focusing on the relationship within a couple. Okay, so first of all, I think it starts with the calmness. Starting from within, that I talked about earlier on, that knowing is like right at the beginning when I told my stories and how that related, and knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what. No matter what. Okay, Chelsea, beautiful. I will, no problem. Just catch the replay, and if you have any questions or whatever, just type them down there in your comments. Beautiful. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, so continuing on here, this calmness of starting, that starts from deep within us, and knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what. And with that brings our softness. We can soften up. We can let things, just come into our natural being. And the softness of your true feminine energy. That we want to let this come through. We want to let it to the surface, to come up to the surface so others can feel it as well. Not only inside of ourselves, but others can feel it so that they are drawn to us and magnetized towards us. So we've got the softness, and then we have the openness. And this openness is a big one. This starts where it starts to be big here, because that means expressing our emotions. Being open enough to express our emotions with self-control and intelligent and emotional intelligence, because that means processing before we release our emotions and speaking through our emotions. Learning how to do that in an intelligent way that will not hurt the other person, but will also get your point across. And that's very important for keeping a relationship alive, okay? And once we tap into our emotions and allow ourselves to explore and feel these emotions, it opens up a complete treasure chest that expands the way we experience life in general. Because if we experience, the thing is, when we experience life with our emotions, it is such a wider and more, it's a fuller life that we have than just doing the things and seeing the things. And, that's like very shallow on the surface. So the next part of the sequence is the vulnerability. And this may hold a lot of triggers for some people. But I'd like you just to be with me for this, even if it does trigger you in some way, because our past experiences can often bring up these triggers, and it's, it can really, really get into us. Hello, beautiful Sonia. Lovely to have you on here. I'm just in the middle of it, but you can catch the replay later on, and so happy to have you with us here. So the vulnerability is the part that can trigger us from past experiences, and that's why it triggers us, because things that we've gone through in the past. But the thing is, when we feel vulnerable enough to let down our protective walls and we feel safe enough, this is top priority in a relationship. In being vulnerable is letting down those walls, being able to feel safe within the relationship so that we can let that armor, we can let it down. We can just let people through a little bit, let them see part of us, okay? When there's no need anymore to be in prove it mode or have the last word and to be right all the time. That's being vulnerable, letting the other person be right and admitting that you were wrong. That's important. Or admitting that you're sorry, that you made a mistake. Why not? We all do it. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And those type of things will deepen the relationship that you have. Now, the thing is, men, about emotions here. I'm emotional and I can cry easily. I can cry from joy, and I can cry from excitement, and I can cry because I'm sad. These things just come out of me, and I don't stop them. But the thing is, men don't always understand this. They don't always understand us crying. And it's hard for them to witness it at times because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help us. And that's what they want to do. They want to make us happy. They want to help us. And they don't know what to do. I mean, if we're crying because we're happy, that's okay. They can just sort of, they can give us a nice hug. But if we cry because we're sad or upset or anything like that, it is difficult for them to see us cry. Because it's out of their range of, what do I do now? And what can they do? I mean, they can be there with us to witness it if we allow them to. And again, that's part of being vulnerable. There are many women that will not allow these men in their lives to see them cry. They want to be strong. They want to always be strong. probably from, again, past experiences, and this vulnerability comes from these triggers and everything like that. So many true men want to find us a solution. Yeah, we just want to let it go. We just want to let it out, and they don't know what to do. So it's a good idea to also let them know, maybe after you've cried the first time with them, let them know, it might happen, but I'm okay. I'm okay. Just let them be there with you. So moving on, the next part of the sequence is the emotional bonds that we create. And creating these emotional bonds is what strengthens the memories that we have, because our memories create these strong memories, these deep memories that we will, and the vivid memories that we'll cherish forever. If the memory is without emotions, we're going to forget it after a short period of time. It's the ones that have got the strong emotions attached to it that, will stay with us. And these emotional bonds are created with our man if we do things together, if we experience things together, if we go through life together and are there for each other, knowing when we've been the supporting, one in the role, and the other one is the one that needs to let go a bit. And again, that can fluctuate. As women, we don't have to always be in our feminine energy. It's okay to be there for our man, and he needs it at times. They're going through a lot of stuff too. Life throws at them things and just like we get stuff thrown at us, and we want someone there for us. So these are the type of things when we're opening up our emotions, when we're feeling those bonds, that we actually strengthen our relationship so much more. And understanding, this is another one, understanding each other's forever changing needs and desires, because life changes. Life changes. Our situations changes. We've all got our own life to live, and none of us are perfect, and all we can do is learn the lessons to improve. And on the way, as we're learning the lessons, if we have compassion for our significant other, for our partner, then if we've got this compassion, then we're more accepting and allowing of this to be, of this person as a person, because that's all they are. We are people. We are human beings, here to make mistakes, here to be on a journey, here to create, what we set out to in life. And those things are there, but we've got to go through major up-leveling and shifts along the way for it to work out all right and for us to get there. So having compassion and being there, for the other one is so important. And then after that, we've got our magnetic attraction and keeping the spark alive. We cannot take the other one for granted. If we take them for granted, then forget it. This relationship is not going to last. It's not going to last as a healthy relationship. It's not going to withstand time. Because who wants to be taken for granted? If you've got boundaries in your life, which I highly suggest you do, and you feel you're being taken, for granted, then you're going to leave that relationship or speak up and talk about it and express it in a very, in an emotionally intelligent way. Then we can also, fulfilling relationship. Yeah, that's what I've got. And it's like I'm taking from my own life experience of what I have with my husband for all these years and how we've built together all this time. So that's where I take this experience from, okay? So the thing is, when we've got this spark alive and it's important to keep it alive, then this all creates love, which binds everything together and creates a strong, long-lasting relationship that is meaningful, that wants you to stay together, that wants you to be together, to grow old together and love each other through everything, which is bringing tears to my eyes. Oh dear. So that's part of me. Okay. That's the happiness coming out. Tears of happiness. Okay, so I just want to recap a bit, and then I've got a little short story that I want to share with you at the end here. So first of all, we've got our, let me just take a drink here, calm things down. Okay. So first of all, we've got our calmness, okay? And then that brings on the softness. And the softness allows us to, open up this vulnerability, and the emotional bonds get stronger, and the understanding, and the compassion, and the magnetism, and the love, and everything together just creates these strong, lasting, long-lasting relationships. Okay, so that's the sequence in very short order here. But I'd like to just, share a quick story with you here at the end. When I was a little girl, and people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I had no idea. I honestly had no idea at all. The only thing I could think of was, the only thing that came to mind really, I wanted to be a princess. That was it. I just wanted to be a princess. And since there was no school that I could learn how to be a princess, I had to use my own imagination and figure it out on my own. So actually, what happened was one of my aunts was a very elegant and graceful, she had this graceful presence about her. And even though we weren't close and I didn't see her very often, like our families didn't meet that often, so I didn't have that much contact with her, but her presence made a lasting impression on me. Just the way she talked and the way she moved and her gestures, they all seemed so calm. She had this presence about her. So I held her in the back of my mind as a princess figure in my life. And that actually, I believe, taught me so much more than any school could have. So that's just a short story, because I calibrated to her princessness, which I believed was my ideal princess. And, so that's has become a part of me as well. And my beautiful women, if you feel that you want to tap more into this soft side of you, this inner calmness that we all have inside, that may have just gotten lost in the meantime, if you want to be the queen of calm, okay? I'm inviting you to calibrate to my calmness, to be in my energy, and come and find out what it's like to work with me, okay? And I've got currently 3 spots open. I've got 3 spots open for private one-on-one coaching together, where we'll just, I'll be guiding you, and you'll be in my energy as we connect and we create more of a soft calmness within you, if that's something that you desire. So if any of this is calling to find out more about it, just send me a message, and we can, schedule a quick connecting call where I will be able to, just talk, and we'll see each other's energy and see what that feels like. So, my lovely ones, if you have any questions, I would love to answer. I've seen, some comments that I've gone through along the way. And if you have any questions that come up later on, I'd be glad to just answer them. Either now or later on, I'll be checking in. Just type in a replay and let me know. And if there's nothing more, then I will be seeing you on the next one. I've loved being on here with you. So thank you very much, and take care until next time. Bye-bye for now.